What's up? This is Release Rotation. I'm your host, John W. Snyder. It's Friday. My son has a basketball game tonight. Daughter has soccer tomorrow. If you have kids, you know it is the season of sports. There's also football going on. There's also baseball going on. All the sports. They never end, though, anymore. There used to be seasons like when we were kids. I feel like I'm talking to someone my age. When I was a kid, there were seasons. Like you played football in the fall. That was football season. Then you went into basketball season. And then you had baseball or soccer season. And then summer was for golf and tennis and swimming, I guess. But that's at least how it was when I grew up. I know times have changed. I know I'm older. I know that was 35 years ago. And that's fine. But I do love that my son's basketball games are on Friday nights. So nice. So nice to get that on a Friday night. And then you kind of have the rest of your weekend, even though so that leaves us just one soccer game tomorrow, which is good. That is good. I love going to my kids' sports and watching them play and get better and work with their teammates. Something I've learned too as a parent, because I've coached before, an assistant. I've been an assistant basketball coach for some of my son's teams. I was an assistant basketball coach one season in Oklahoma, and we did win a state championship that season, and I retired after that. So I've coached one season of high school basketball as an assistant and won a state championship. So no more of that. No more of that. But I will say, I have that coaching mentality still in me where I want to coach kids. I want kids to get better. But it's really hard for me as a parent. And maybe this is just for me, but to be a parent on the sideline, I had to dial back like the coaching your kids during a game. And I'm not the only one because it's so annoying. Now I'm realizing as a parent and hearing other parents, all the parents coaching their kid from the sideline. So my wife and I have made a specific intent decision. We are not going to coach our kids. We are going to cheer for our kids. They have coaches for reasons, and we're going to let the coaches coach because that's what they're there for. And when you've got parents coaching also, your kids don't need to hear from 10 different coaches. So parents, stop coaching your kids from the sideline. Nobody likes it, especially your kid. Might be an unpopular opinion, but if you're a parent and you're not a coach, stop coaching your kids from the sidelines during a game. Let their coach coach them. After the game, talk to your kids and coach them and tell them what you saw, where they could improve, that kind of thing. But if you're a parent in the stands, just cheer for your kid. That's what they need right now. They don't need another coach yelling at them, telling them what to do. Okay? Just stop doing that. There's no point. There is no point. Let the coach coach your kids. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get into the Ryder Cup. The Europeans are over here versus the Americans. Bethpage in New York for the Ryder Cup. It's a 3-day event. Today there's a morning session and an afternoon session. 4 teams against each other this morning and now 4 this afternoon. Going into the afternoon, the Europeans were up 3-1. Not great for Americans, or if you are cheering for the Americans in the Ryder Cup. Not a great start, but there is a lot of golf left. Trump, I just saw, got there for the afternoon session, so maybe he'll give them a boost. I don't know. Playing in front of a president, no matter what your political affiliation is kind of cool, I would think. No matter who it is. The president comes to your thing, that's cool. So maybe he'll give the Americans a boost there. I don't know. Maybe not. But the Ryder Cup is here, and it is going on. So there's a lot of golf left, but Europe is up 3-1 right now. We'll see what happens. College football. There are 4 games this weekend that are pitting ranked teams against each other. So USC is going to Illinois. So USC at Illinois is tomorrow. These games are all tomorrow. Another Big Ten matchup, which is probably the biggest, is Oregon at Penn State. The Ducks going into Happy Valley, Death Valley. What do they call it up there? I don't even know. It's going to be a whiteout at night. Penn State, it's going to look awesome. I love that. I love that they do that where it's nighttime and it's dark, but all their fans are going to be in white shirts, I guess. Guess that's cool if that's your thing. But that's a top 10 matchup right there, obviously. You've also got LSU at Ole Miss, and you have Alabama at Georgia. So all of those games, the home team is favored except for the Illinois USC game. USC is favored by like 6.5 at Illinois, which makes sense. Illinois got shellacked last week by Indiana. The Hoosiers just destroyed Illinois last week. It was a beatdown like nothing you've seen. Well, unless you watched Oregon smack around my Oklahoma State Cowboys. But that's the only game where the road team is favored. I was actually surprised. Ole Miss is like number 14 and LSU's like number 4, I think. But Ole Miss is actually favored in that game. And then Georgia's favored against Alabama, which makes sense. And Penn State's favored over Oregon by not much. All these spreads are under 5, except for the USC-Illinois game. So should be a good weekend for football. Should be a great weekend for NFL football on Sunday. But those are the biggest matchups for the weekend. We'll see what happens. I think Illinois gets beat by USC. I think Oregon goes in to Penn State and wins that game. So I think Oregon wins that game straight up. I think Ole Miss does beat LSU, and I think Georgia beats Alabama. So there you have it. Those are my picks. Here's the thing. If you've ever listened to my podcast before or me make predictions about sports, I'm always wrong. Always wrong. So typically, obviously, this is not gambling advice at all because I don't gamble and my advice sucks because I'm always wrong. But if I were a gambling man, I would make my picks and then I would bet against my picks because that's how often I'm wrong. I'd probably be up a lot of money if I went against myself, bet against myself when I make picks, but that's a whole other story. Something else, which I know I talked about yesterday, but Mike Gundy gone. I posted like 3 or 4 reels on different social media platforms, and it's so funny to get different comments from people, which I don't care. I love it. I have thick skin. I don't care what you say, but it's just interesting to see some of the comments. And obviously, I know some of them are coming from OU fans, which is fine. I get it. I don't know why OU's still so hung up on OSU, though, but that's fine. It's your own issues, I guess, as OU fans to deal with. You'll figure it out. Some of the comments are like, what did he do for Oklahoma State? Or stuff like that. And it's like, are you kidding? What did Mike Gundy do for Oklahoma State? I mean, all of his awards, the wins, they speak for themselves. Numerous 10-win seasons hadn't happened under a coach in Oklahoma State like that. Big 12 championship, just a bunch of awards and a bunch of victories and great seasons under Mike Gundy. I don't think he should still be the head coach, obviously, for obvious reasons. But again, what he did for Oklahoma State was something pretty unbelievable, especially when you're recruiting against and competing against the Texas schools and the University of Oklahoma, which is an hour away, hour and a half, I guess, away from Oklahoma State. So I'd say he had a pretty great career. It did not end great. You obviously would love to go out on top, but that rarely happens in football. Most guys get canned before they just quit or retire on top, which is just how it goes. That's how sports goes. Like, if you don't win, you get fired. Is that fair? Is it not? That's up for you to decide, I guess. Did they give Mike Gundy long enough? Should they have let him finish out the season just to see? Like, what if something crazy happened and Oklahoma State reeled off 7 wins and went 7-5 or 8-4? Obviously, it's what if this, what if that, or again, could have gone 3-9 again, and then there's your answer. But I don't know. I think, I've said this, that, obviously if you've seen Gundy on TV and the stuff he said, I know there's been a lot of remarks he said that rubbed people the wrong way and that kind of thing. I feel like some of that stuff they let slide because he was winning. I just wonder if some of the stuff he had said and they were not winning like we were, if he would have been fired sooner than he was. I don't know. just my thoughts about it. But that's that. Gundy's gone. Doug Meacham takes over. I hope that they can win some games, and I hope they make a great, great hire. We will see. Other news, big sports news, is John Mateer had successful surgery, and so that's good. Okay, so this is something I do want to talk about. This is kind of my ranting part. I have a degree in journalism, broadcast journalism, and one thing that really irritates me, and what irritated me about what happened yesterday with OU, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was a journalist. I think he's a student at OU. And if not, I could be wrong, but there's a publication, news outlet, whatever you want to call it, OU Sports Daily or OU Daily or something. And it might be part of the university, which if it's part of the university, this is even crazier. But a reporter, journalist, student, whatever he is, showed up to the airport like a journalist would do, because John Mateer, came in from California after having surgery, and these two cars like blocked the airplane. So you couldn't even see John Mateer get off the plane or anything. And so this reporter talked about that and mentioned that, like, I went to the airport, was hoping to see Mateer, maybe ask some questions as he got off the plane or whatever, got in these cars and drove off. And then they asked Brent Venables this, and he's the head coach at OU. And his comment is like about this kid camping out, waiting at the airport as being weird. Like, don't say that. Like, this is a kid who wants to be a journalist. He's doing his part. He's doing his job to get the story. So he went to the airport to try to get the story. And then you have the head coach of OU calling him weird. Don't do that, dude. Like, What are you doing? Why even say anything? Like, why did Brent Venables feel like he had to say anything about this kid, journalist, reporter, going to the airport to get the story, which was the biggest sports story of the week? That John Mateer had a broken bone in his hand and had to have surgery, and he's out minimum of 3 weeks. That's a huge story. And this kid's trying to get the story, and he's trying to get firsthand maybe a comment from Mateer. But no, Mateer came in the private jet that who knows who paid for. I'm guessing, I don't know what that budget comes out of at OU, or if it was donated, I don't know. And then they block it where you can't see him. And then the head coach of Oklahoma says it's weird that this kid was at the airport trying to get a story. Like, what are we doing? Who cares? Who cares if he's trying to get a story? That's his job as a journalist. Wild. That's my rant for the day. I love it. I support this kid and his journalism career. And I don't think this is going to he's not going to let this hinder him in any way. But what a weird thing for Venables to do. That's weird for him to even comment on that. But anyways, that's all I got to say about that. Just an interesting day there in Norman. But I'm glad the surgery was successful, so that's good. Good news for OU. Mateer may have been a Heisman frontrunner. Does that change things if he's only out? If he only misses 2 games? It shouldn't really change things if he comes back and is still unbelievable. So we'll see what happens there. But, man, I just think that journalism story is hilarious. So funny that, anyways, I don't know. I just think it's wild. Sports. That's all I got for sports. There was another interesting story that I'm going to butcher it, but I guess Logan Paul, I didn't even realize this, purchased an 8x8 foot size floor from the United Center where the Bulls played, signed by Michael Jordan. But the place he bought it from, they wouldn't let him look at it and authenticate it, I guess, before he bought it or something. See, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Anyways, we're going to cut that out because I butchered it. But it's Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. Go out, have fun, be safe, be kind, cheer for your kids. Don't coach your kids from the sideline if you're not the coach. And go Cowboys and Oklahoma State Cowboys, not Dallas Cowboys. That's insane to think I would cheer for the Dallas Cowboys. But enjoy the weekend, have fun, be safe. Don't call journalists weird for doing their job. That's it.